Earlier this month, viewers like you were part of another record-breaking, server-smashing, game-making marathon. I'm talking, of course, about the GMTK Game Jam for 2021. More than 21,000 people signed up to take part, and they managed to bash together more than 5,800 games, making it, once again, the biggest jam we've ever held. As per usual, participants were challenged to design their game around a theme, and this year it was joined together. And so we saw a load of games where objects were combined and connected and tied to one another, sometimes literally, sometimes not. Now, while I'd love to play every single game, I don't have a couple months to spare. So, I crowdsourced it. Players left over 150,000 ratings, which left me with the top 100 games to play. And I have to say, the quality this year was incredible, with so many creative, inventive, engaging, and enjoyable games. But I can only choose 20 as my absolute favourites. So, without further ado, and in no particular order, these are the best games of the GMTK Game Jam for 2021. Every jam, a game comes along that kinda just blows my mind a little bit. This time, that honour goes to Rift Shift. This is a platform game with two little windows that you can pick up and move about. And basically, anything that appears in one window will also appear in the other. And so, to get your tiny wizard to the flag, you'll need to place one window in the gap in front of him and use the other window to sample a bit of background with some steps. Now, you've got a route to the exit. It's awfully clever. There are also great puzzles that come from moving the rift over the character, phasing in stuff like doors and pressure-sensitive buttons before phasing them back out again. And later levels introduce turrets that can be blocked by creative use of the windows. This game is part platformer, part selection tool from Photoshop, and all around amazing. Give it a go. This year we saw a whole bunch of puzzlers where boxes join together when you touch them. I count at least 5 in the top 100. My favourite of the bunch, though, was Sleepy Blocks. This is a game where you control a smiley-faced square in a grid-based world of snoozing friends. If you enter an adjacent tile, the sleepy cubes wake up and join with you to create a brand new shape. And so thus begins a bunch of puzzles about carefully picking up new polygons in order to reach the exit. It's about picking the right path and choosing the correct order. But then, a new mechanic is introduced, cracked floor tiles that can turn into deadly pits and must be carefully avoided. But then, there are puzzles where you want to use the pits in order to split your shape. This game has a great understanding of puzzle design and was simply a joy to play. Okay, let me pick one more game about joining together blocks, just because this one is very different. It's called Puzzle Sigma. The idea for this one is that you play as a mathematical symbol, starting as a plus sign, and you can attach yourself to big, chunky number blocks. If you get a number on the left and right, your body becomes a mathematical equation, and the answer can be used to unlock doors. So pick up a 1 and a 3, and you'll be able to unlock the door marked 4. It's alarmingly clever and deserves endless points for making a game about maths that's actually enjoyable. Things get real complicated when you start playing with numbers bigger than 9 and multiple symbols and puzzles where you get different answers as you rotate around. And at that point, I started to panic. But if you've got a better nose for numbers than me, I think you'll really enjoy this game. If letters are more your thing though, check out Factori. Essentially an entire Zachtronics game made in 48 hours, Factori is a problem-solving puzzler with one raw material, the letter I, and about 26 different products, the rest of the alphabet. You see, if you bend, rotate, flip, and combine the letter I using these colourful machines on the right over here, it's possible to spit out any other letter. And so the game is as much about building an efficient factory as it is about thinking creatively about shapes. How do you make a G? I guess that's a bent I, a normal I, and a rotated I. Yeah, got it. I can't give it full points for originality. Anyone who's played Space Chem or Opus Magnum will recognise the core concept immediately, but it's done with such alarming proficiency that it really does deserve a nod. We saw a fair few arena battlers in the jam. That's always a smart way to make the most out of the short time limit. One that really worked for me was Ghostel. This is, ultimately, a pretty simple game. You control two different ghost-busting geezers at the same time, and as long as they're close enough to one another, a big, deadly laser beam arcs between their guns. Now, anything caught in the middle will be vaporized, leading to a fun and frantic twin-stick arena shooter where you fight ghosts, cursed furniture, and, the Windows logo. Play it in single player, and it's a game that will test your coordination. Play it with a friend, and it's a game that will test your relationship. I'd like to have seen a few more twists on the idea, but it's a great start for a game. Another arena battler I dug was the very innovative Grappling Scarf. In this one, you play as a square with a rather long white scarf, which trails behind you like the body in Snake. You can use this as a massive shield to wrap around the base in the middle of the screen and protect it from incoming bullets. But look at the end of the scarf. It's got a hook, which can be used to pick up bombs. Now you can drag them away from your base and hit space to split your scarf in half. Now you can go off and do more work while you wait for the bomb to blow up. Later, however, you'll want to go back to your discarded scarf and pick it back up, because every time you disconnect a bit of your body, you become shorter and less effective as a shield. It's a weird but wholly original game where you're having to constantly put out fires, make small sacrifices for long-term game, and ebb and flow between bodies that are big and small. Safe to say, I liked it. Here's a theme I wasn't expecting in the jam: using a hookshot to pull bits of a level to rearrange the playspace, like the very polished puzzle platformer Whale Eater. My pick, though, is Phasing Puller. And that comes from a very small restriction on your powers that happens to change everything. Your hookshot only works when it goes through one object. That's what powers it to latch onto something and drag it back. Otherwise, it doesn't work. This leads to a number of clever and thoughtful levels about moving blocks for jumping on and powered up energy cells for puzzle solving. I also liked the minimalist art style. If you've only got 48 hours to make graphics, limit your color palette to create a cohesive style in no time at all. Technology is all about joining things together, whether that's using different dongles to connect up a laptop, chairing multiple Zoom meetings at once, or physically connecting phone calls using a switchboard. In fact, there were 2 switchboard-based games in the top 100, and while I dug the narrative thread throughout Hello Operator, my pick of the pair was Telephone Trouble. The idea is the same: use wires to make a connection between caller and recipient. But this one's way more manic. You've got 5 cables to play with. Phone calls pile up like orders in an overcooked restaurant. You'll be frantically checking the phone book to find people's calling codes. And every now and again, someone will need the hospital and you'll have to drop everything to answer their emergency. It's a rapid-fire, high-score chasing arcade gem with gorgeous graphics. Give it a play. Another common element in this jam's top 100 was constellations, such as the stunning and relaxing photography gem Star Snap. But one game just outdid it for me. It's called Peaceful Evening Among the Stars. It's a puzzle game about connecting up stars to make constellations. You can only drag a certain distance away from a bright, colourful star, so you'll need to use other, smaller stars as stepping stones. Things soon get more complex when different coloured stars are introduced, forcing you to get clever about overlapping and circumnavigating other stars. I feel like I've said stars a lot. Anyway, it's just a polished, professional, and eminently playable game. Basically, when I've got to rush through 100 games to get the results out for a bunch of impatient game jammers, well, if I end up playing one game all the way to the end, I think I can safely say I liked it. There's always a pixel art platformer or two in the top 100. This year, one of my favourites was Gacha Head. It's got nothing to do with loot boxes or microtransactions, thankfully. Instead, it's an adorable game about a tiny man and his giant hat. The hat gives you the extra height needed to grab keys, but it also makes you too towering to squeeze through tight gaps. So, soon enough, you'll need to use a low ceiling to knock your hat clean off, returning you to the smaller size. And then, once you've done what you need to do, it's back to the hat. It's a charming game, packed with puzzles and even bonus puzzles. I'd be keen to see where the creators could take this with even more time. Okay, this one almost makes me reconsider the rule that there's no max team size. It's called Static Cling. It's a Nitrome-esque platformer where you play as a ball of pulsing energy who always starts on a plug head. Now you've got to make your way to the socket, but you're very limited in the way you can travel. Like, you can stretch out into the world, but only so far because you're joined together with a power source. If you link to a bulb though, you can travel through the wires and pop out on the other side. Later, you'll be able to use yourself to power on machines like big chunky doors, and also transfer yourself into little robots for more freeform movement. This leads to a metric butt-ton of clever puzzles and setups. Look, you could buy this game on the Switch eShop and not even know it was made in a weekend. The huge team at Team Bugalon is clearly a game-making monster. Well done. Squeaking in at overall rating position 100 is Tether and Feather. Or should that be squawking in? This is a parrot-themed platformer with a big difference. To get over gaps, you need to do a big jump as one parrot and then switch to the second. Now, parrot number 2 can use their buddy as a grapple point to do a big, looping, arcing swing before rocketing out the other side and hopefully onto dry land. Later, you'll get golden feathers that let you do more jumps and swaps in mid-air, leading to frantic back and forth chains as you leap from parrot to parrot. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a little tricky to get used to, but once you get the rhythm right, you'll be soaring towards the goal in a game that mixes fast-paced thrills with strategic placement. Good stuff. Next up is Mrs. Modifier. This is an arcade adventure on a cabinet with not enough buttons for all the actions you need. I mean, left, right, and jump won't really cut it when you also need to climb, air dash, crouch, and drop through platforms. So, you can open up the arcade machine and rewire the controls for yourself, like make going to the right also perform an air dash, or have going to the left do double duty as fall through platforms. Initially, it seems like a funny sight gag of a game, but it's actually a clever puzzler, where you need to assess the screen ahead of you and make decisions about how you can assign all the necessary actions without breaking things. I really enjoyed this, and it took a very different twist on the theme. One of the most popular themes for the top 100 was games where different bits of the world can be jumbled up and joined together in unique combinations, including a mini Minotaur maze and a clever mix between Minute and Kato. But my pick of the bunch has got to be the micro Metroidvania, Octo and the Pocket Dimensions. In this one, you find new rooms as big floating floppy disks, and can then return to a massive central computer to rearrange the maze of room tiles to make further progress. Very cool, though we have seen similar stuff in previous jams. What I loved though was the clever ways that developer Iceberg Lettuce built on the idea. For example, there are keys to pick up, but they disappear when you use the computer, so you'll need to ensure that the key room is en route to the corresponding door. And even smarter, one room has a big bouncy trampoline which can spring you out of one room and then over obstacles in another, so plopping down rooms can have ramifications that spill out beyond their walls. It's basically that dungeon from Skyward Sword if Skyward Sword was on the Game Boy, and if you've watched my channel at all, you'll understand why I couldn't resist this game's charms. Next up is Space Scrap Shuffle. It's not the most attractive game in the jam, but looks can be deceiving. In this one, you ram your spaceship into floating bits and pieces to add them to your ever-growing Frankenstein's monster of a battlecruiser, like turrets for firepower and bulkheads for shields. And now you can chase down enemies and blow them up, but you'll want to be careful as any leftover Lego pieces can be added to your own ship, so you'll want to play carefully, only destroying the command module but leaving the turrets unharmed. Luckily, the game's got a generous tactical pause system for precision decisions. Another cool idea is that you can jettison bits of your own body and blow them up in order to get health to heal other modules. There's a lot of decision making in this one. There is a load more you could do with this game, and it suffers the same balance problem every game of this ilk has. It's too easy to become utterly overpowered, but it's a great base for a smashing jam entry. Here's a really neat game with a lot of potential for growth. It's called Threadbound. It starts out as a simple platformer. Move, jump, push, But then something special happens. You can open an overlay above the gameplay, and here you can create a green thread between multiple objects. And now, when you interact with one, the other changes too. Thread two boxes together, and you can now move both by just pushing one of them. Eventually, you'll be able to choose whether to thread your needle through the object's X or Y axis, allowing for either horizontal or vertical movement, a platform that goes up when you push a box to the side. This led to one of the best individual puzzles I saw in the jam, though to spoil it would be a shame, so you'll have to play it for yourself. Ultimately, there's so much more this game could do, it feels like a cheeky teaser for the next must-play puzzle game. Threadbound wasn't the only game to tinker with tapestry, like the tricky climbing game Utterly Threadful, or my next pick, Loop. In a world of sentient buttons and fluff balls, your tiny needlework hero must plop down a cotton reel and then encircle a bunch of objects in a big loop of thread. You don't want to capture just any old stuff in your circle. You're given a recipe, some fluff, some fabric, and some buttons to make a teddy bear, and so must only pick the right objects. And I think that's really sweet. This could have been yet another sci-fi shooter about rounding up aliens and robots in order to destroy them, but instead it's about making toys and clothes. A pertinent reminder to think outside the box when it comes to aesthetics, and not land on the obvious first choice. I love how a game jam can produce games that are basically just a funny joke. They probably wouldn't work as a full, paid-for release, but as a one-off freebie made in a weekend, you can get away with turning your game into a gag. And that includes Tongue-Tied. This is a silly game about a girl who has licked an icy pole in the winter and her tongue has gotten stuck. That means you can only move a small distance away, but if you pick up these balls of energy, your tongue gets longer. And so, in order to escape this nightmare, you need to keep increasing the length of your tongue, carefully wrapping it around walls and thinking about distance. This lets you get further and further away from the pole and hopefully towards freedom. The final punchline is well worth seeing. Next up, this is Ball to the Wall. This is a frantic football-style rampage of a game. You're joined together with a massive pink ball that makes it awfully hard to get anywhere fast. But if you stand behind it, you can give the ball a big kick and use it to smash through enemies and walls alike. This does fling you forward, so you'll need to be quick on your toes to reposition yourself for the next kick, or to use your ball as a shield, as it does double duty as a way of deflecting bullets. This is a fun game with a lot of charm. And finally, this is SparkLink. This game is all about controlling two characters with completely different rules, options, and even input methods. The Spark is controlled with the mouse and can basically go anywhere your cursor can. The robot is controlled with the keyboard, is more concerned with gravity and ground, and only works when it's joined together with the Spark. And so we get a bunch of really cool puzzles where you need to think critically and carefully about how these two very different characters are going to move in order to get to the goal, and help but not hinder each other. This is a polished and very smart game. Go check it out. Okay, I wanted to leave you with some honourable mentions, though I should state that every game in the top 100 was amazing and well worth playing. These are just a few games I wanted to highlight. Horse Divorce is a balmy soccer band style puzzler about a two-headed horse who must find its other head for a smooch. UI Warrior is an inventive game about using bits of the interface as platforms. It almost made the video, but I think we have enough puzzle platformers in here. Holosaur and Tuminator are two games about using your past self to solve puzzles, but unfortunately I highlighted something similar in the past. And Top and Tom is a brilliant twist on the endless runner genre, with a really mean difficulty curve. So there we have it. You can browse all 5,800 games over on itch.io, and you can now also see the public's rankings for all the games. Thank you so much to everyone who took part in the jam, or just rated some games, or chatted with us on Discord, or watched my streams. Thanks to my mods on Discord and YouTube, and to everyone who made our awesome Team Finder app. and thanks to my patrons, as always. The Jam will, of course, be back in 2022, so subscribe to the channel to receive the date announcement sometime next year. Thanks for watching. If you like what you just saw and want to show your support for the Jam, please check out this quick YouTube ad break.